21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Everybody is different. Everybody understands things differently. Everybody listens. Everybody feels differently. And so when you have a diverse audience, I have to reach and connect with everybody. People don't listen unless they feel related to or connected to. And so what do I need to do? I need to figure out, first of all, who is my audience? What do they care about? What do they like? Where do they go to the store? Where do they eat? What restaurants do they like? What books do they read? I need all of that information, or at least some sense of that information, so I can use a connective factor in my conversations. I'm a PK. I'm a preacher's kid. When I was a little boy, my dad used to go to different churches. And sometimes he would go to churches where they had different languages. So for example, we would go to a Korean church or a Japanese church. And anytime he went to a different church where they spoke a different language, he would make sure that he understood, or he was able to say or speak at least a few words, maybe a phrase in that specific language. So if we went to a Japanese church, my dad would stand up and he would say konnichiwa, right? So that the audience would feel that they were connected to him, or that he at least made the effort to respect and understand their culture. And in the corporate world, it's the same. People have different feelings and understandings. What can I do to understand their culture? And for me, the biggest way to do that, the best way to do that, is through storytelling. Storytelling connects people through experiences. And if I can feel like you understand me and you can feel like I understood your experience, then it's easier for us to then take the next step towards collaboration, connection, and maybe even sales. My business journey begins in high school, not my high school. I was teaching high school. I was a teacher in high school. I taught physics and biology for about 8 years. And while I was a teacher, for some reason, I had a yearning to start a business. I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know how to run a business. Google wasn't even out yet, so I couldn't look it up online. I think I went to the library and got some books on how to get started with a business. So I started a music promotions website, and I did that for quite a few years. I got a friend who ran an internet radio station. We partnered, and our website got big because of that. While we were doing that, I got some website, or got some clients who needed websites built, and so we started a web design company. So I started my first 2 companies while I was teaching. After that, I went back into the world of teaching and I taught college online. But while I was doing that, my wife and I decided that we were ready to move from one state to another. So we packed up our kids. We had 3 kids under the age of 5 at the time, and we moved from the state of Massachusetts to Maryland, which was more than 400 miles away. We get to the state of Maryland and we settle in, and about 10 days later, I lose my job online. So now I've got to figure out what to do. I started interviewing, and of course I interview and I'm not getting any responses. But I'm a dad and I'm a husband, and I've got to be able to contribute to our family in some way. So I figure out that I can build online courses. I get connected with a university professor, and she has some PowerPoint decks and says, "Hey, can you convert this to online learning for me?" I say, "Sure." So I do that, and I do that over a few times, and I get a few contracts doing that. And after I do that for a little bit, I decide that I'm going to start a company building online courses. So I do this and I hire a few people and we have some contracts. And then guess what? I make some bad decisions in the company and the company blows up. The company doesn't work and I end up owing a whole lot of money. So I have to close that company down. But while I was doing that, as I'm building courses, I started the process. Companies started to ask me the question, hey, instead of just telling us how to build the courses, instead of just building the courses for us, can you show us how to build them? So I started to train. And as I'm training, people kept asking me the question, hey, are you a speaker? Hey, you're pretty good at speaking. Are you a public speaker? Are you a professional speaker? And I kept getting the same question over and over and over again. But I didn't really know the answer to it. And I said, no, I'm not a speaker because I didn't know the process. And so I decided finally I was going to go figure out the process. So after this company breaks apart, I said, let me lean into this speaking and training thing. And as I begin to lean into it, I get some contracts or I get some opportunities to speak about leadership and communication. And as I'm getting these opportunities and discovering more and learning more, I find out that I really enjoy this area of communication and how people are able to leverage it and use it to create connection and influence and grow businesses. Because I was a small business owner, of course, I had a special heart for entrepreneurs and small business owners as well. So I'm always looking at, okay, what are the ideas? What are the tools that we can use to grow our business? And so as I'm teaching about communication and seeing how it works and seeing the inner workings of it, it really begins to occur to me that this is one of the best ways to grow business. As a matter of fact, instead of just doing Facebook ads, instead of selling things on the street, instead of sending postcards, if I'm able to talk about my business and about the area that I have expertise in, people are able to see me, and they say that the people buy from people they know, like, and trust. Right? And so the more that I can share about a topic, the more that I can solve people's problems and show them that I'm relatable, I'm connective, I'm somebody that understands the experiences that they're having in the world, the more likely they are to come to me when they have a problem that is related to what they heard me speak about. And so I really believe that public speaking and honing your speaking skills is not just a good personal skill to grow. It is something that helps to grow your business as well. As a matter of fact, one of the richest men in the world, Warren Buffett, talks about public speaking as one of the number one skills that he would recommend everyone learn in order to grow themselves and grow their businesses. So there's a term called glossophobia, which essentially means the fear of public speaking. And there's a joke that says most people at a funeral would rather be in the casket than up front giving the eulogy, right? Because they don't want to be in front of a microphone and they don't want to be criticized and judged by everyone. What if I fail? What if I mess up? What if I stumble over a word? What if people don't understand what I'm saying? All these questions go through people's minds. So they see somebody like me in front of a room and they say, oh my Lord, he does that with such ease. They stands up and he doesn't look nervous at all. And they say to themselves, I think I would like to do something like that. But then they fight against themselves and they say, wait a minute, he's a speaker. That's his gift. That's his talent. I don't really want to be a public speaker. I just want to be a business owner, or I just want to work in my job. Why do I need to be better at speaking? Why do I need to get to stand up in front of a microphone or on a stage? Well, here's the answer to that. It's not so much that you want to get paid to be a public speaker or that you have to present in front of a crowd all the time. But the better that you are at mastering language, the better that you are at understanding communication and experiences, is the easier it is for you to influence. And all of us need to influence at some point, whether that's in a work environment, or maybe that's with a spouse, or maybe that's with your friends, or maybe you have a business and you're needing to have people get interested in a product or an idea that you had. All of us need to be able to influence at some point. And so if I want to be better at influence, then I want to understand and increase my skill at public speaking. I had a client come to me and they were in between jobs. They were getting ready to apply for a job, or they had already applied for a job. And part of the requirement for the job was for them to do a interview, but then also do a couple of sales presentations as a part of that interview process. And they were freaking out about this. They were super scared about this because they said, wait a minute, I'm not a presenter. I'm not a public speaker. This is going to be terrible. This is going to be hard. And so we had a few sessions together and we walked through what it would look like for them to present themselves in a way that was compelling, in a way that was confident, in a way that showed the people that are in the room that I'm an expert. I know what I'm talking about. I've been in the industry for this amount of years. So we talked about not only body language and what I needed to, what were the words that you could say, but we also talked about story and storytelling, because I really believe that storytelling is the most powerful form of communication. When we're able to share stories, people connect with the experiences in a story, right? There's a statistic that says people are 22 times more likely to remember a fact if it's wrapped in a story. Now, I don't know the truth of that, but what I do know is that when you share experience and when you connect with emotion, people are more likely to remember it than if you just give them facts. So we talked about this in our sessions together, me and my client. And so we walked through helping her to become more comfortable just responding to questions, how to answer questions on the spur of the moment. And then we talked about how to weave stories into your responses. We did that for a few weeks, and then she did her interview and she did her sales presentations, and she sent me an email a couple of days later saying, hey, Robert, guess what? I did the interviews and I did the presentations, and 2 days later, they offered me the job. And you know what they said? They said my sales presentations were the best that they had ever seen, because I was prepared. And not only because I was prepared, but I didn't just chuck data and charts and facts and information at them. I shared with them experiences, and they were able to relate to that. And so I hear those stories over and over and over again. Yeah, you may not necessarily need to be a public speaker in front of a big crowd, but you're always going to be in a situation where you have to present information to one person or a group of 5 people. Maybe it's just a general meeting, whatever it is. All of us come across a situation where we have to influence people. And so growing the skill of public speaking is going to be something that works in your favor every time. Now, we spoke a bit about people who need to use public speaking or presentation skills in their organizations. There are people in organizations that not only need to use their public speaking skills or their speaking skills for meetings, but sometimes the organizations have conferences or events and they may be called upon to speak. I worked with someone who it was the deputy mayor of the city in Washington, D.C. He came to me and he was asking about how to increase his public speaking or his presentation persona. I looked at a few videos of him, and I saw him, and he was a fairly dynamic speaker, but there were some things that I noticed. He was focused mostly on himself. He looked a little bit nervous at the beginning and was not at ease with the audience, and he recognized some of those things about himself as well. So we worked together for some sessions, and I actually just got an email from him several days ago, and he said, "Robert, guess what? I found my voice. I was able, based on our sessions, to find how to really engage and connect with the audience even more. Can I get a call with you? I'd love to talk about it." Right? So we haven't spoken again yet, but he's on my calendar for a couple of weeks from now. I'm ready to hear from him. There was another gentleman that was a vice president for an organization, and he was called upon to speak during one of the conferences that his company was having. And he was super nervous about it because his company was an international company, and they had vice presidents and executives from all over the world coming in to this event, and he would be presenting at this event. And so he was quite a bit nervous. He said, "Listen, it's one thing to present in front of my team. It's another thing to present in front of the heads of all of the different business units coming in from over around the world." So we had a couple of sessions together. And one of the sessions, I really asked him to lean into the idea of storytelling. What happens is that when we see people in the room who we think are smarter than us, sometimes we get intimidated. And because we're intimidated, we start to throw numbers and data and facts at them. And the truth is, they're not going to remember all of that, right? As a matter of fact, science tells us that in presentations, people are typically going to remember about 10% of what they heard you say. So what 10% do you want them to remember? Or what is the main thing, the main idea that you want them to remember? So for those of you that have to speak, here's one thing that I'd like for you to do. Instead of gathering all of the data and the information and presenting it in a linear fashion, ask yourself the question, what is the one thing that I want people to walk away with from this presentation? If they didn't remember anything else, what is the one sentence, the one idea that I want them to walk away with? And then build your entire presentation around that. So with my client, we focused on that. I asked him what was the one thing that he wanted. And he stopped for a second, and he gave me a thought, or he gave me an idea. And then he said, "No, wait. And then a big thought came to him, and he shared what that was. And so we built his entire talk around that. He gives the presentation, and he calls me back at the end of the day, right after his presentation. He said, "Oh my gosh, the president of the company, the CEO, came to me." He said, "Wow, that was a fantastic presentation." He said to me, "Robert, you're the public speaking whisperer." I said, "Listen, it's not so much that I'm a public speaking whisperer. I believe that humans are, while we're complex, we're simple. And the biggest thing that we want to do is we want to be connected with. We want people to experience the experiences that we have, or to know that they understand our experiences." There was a prime minister that was running for office, and there was someone who was there was a lady named Jenny that met with him, and she met with, I believe, Winston Churchill was the other prime minister at the time. There were two of them that were running for office, and someone asked her how she felt about them, and one of them, she said, when you're sitting with this person, you know that they're the smartest person in the room. It's clear. She said, but with Churchill, with this other person, he makes you feel like you're the smartest person in the room. And so people care about the experiences. They care about how you make them feel. They care about the ideas that you have, and that you understand their ideas as well. So I believe that storytelling is one of the best ways to create to create connection with people. As a matter of fact, let me share this really quickly. There's a simple framework that I utilize for public speakers, especially if you're new in the space. And I call it the EASE framework, EASE. And the first E stands for energy, the A stands for ask, the S stands for story, and the second E stands for explain. And so if you're giving a speech, I want you to build this backwards. I want you to think about the point that you want to explain. Then, is there a story that you can come up with that relates to that point or that leads into that point? And then, is there a question that you can ask to get the audience's feedback that will lead into that story? And then, what is the energy that you want to bring? Do you want them to be reflective? Do you want them to be energetic, enthusiastic? That really frames the question that you ask. So you deliver it forwards. You think about the energy, you ask the question, you tell the story, and then you talk about the point. But you build it backwards. Start with the point that you want, find the story, think about the question, determine the energy that you want to share. So that's a framework. And if anybody wants to grab that framework, make sure that you connect with me at my website, get in touch with rk3.com, and just say, hey, Robert, send me the EASE framework, and I'll send you the information for that. If you're looking to deliver a message that makes a difference, if you're looking to deliver a message that moves people to action, using that EASE framework is one of the best ways, the easiest ways that I would say, hey, get it? Easy, ease, all right? It's one of the easiest ways to get you there. And if you would like to get a hold of that EASE framework, feel free to reach out to me at getintouchwithrk3.com. Go to that website, reach me there, either my social media or whatever links are there, and I'll send that to you. I want to share one additional thing, though. If you are really interested in upping your game in public speaking as a means to grow your business, we're doing something called the Story to Sales Mastermind. And that is about how to use presenting and public speaking as a way to garner attention, create increased visibility, and thereby increase the sales in your business. And it's hard to do that on your own. So we want to have a collaborative community that creates accountability, that helps people to grow skills, and allows you to practice some information together. So if you go to Story to Sales, the number 2, storytosalesmastermind.com, share your interest there, and we'll be sending you some information about when we're getting started with those masterminds. We'd love to have you be a part so that we can help you grow your skills and we can grow our sales together.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskarik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.